continuing on with E3, Gray Fox at Gray Kitsune wants to know,
Good Metal Gear reference.
what were games you thought were ignored at the show or didn't get enough attention because of all the other big titles that were there? Now, this resonated with me because I'm a big fan of a lot of little things. So it's like games like Amplitude get me super excited. They're not the biggest games, you know, but they're ones that I'm going to sink a lot of time into. And I remember walking around the show floor and looking around, just being like tons of things that I was like, oh shit, that's playable. Oh shit, this is here. And like no one even talked about it. Like Ratchet and Clank comes to mind.
Yeah.
That game looks so good.
Pixar
a couple
movie.
weeks ago, we saw the trailer and it was just like, oh crap, this looks good.
Yeah.
It was playable on the show floor. And I was like, how the hell is this? No one's talking about it.
Oh, it's because they wore out their welcome. The damage is done. Stop making Ratchet and Clank games.
No.
Don't reboot it now and think that we won't notice what's happening.
No, but that looked good. And then I also saw Journey on PS4, which they've shown like 10 million times. Sure. And it's really interesting. Like, where is that? Like, why is that not just... It's out now.
I know, right? That's the thing is that we've heard about that game forever. It's like, okay, do it. Poop or get off the pot. So I'll tell you a game. I'm a fan of these small games too. A game that I was surprised that I didn't think about, forgotten all about. Metal Gear Solid: The Phantom Pain. Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. The game that I said it was currently my game of the year. Like I was on there. People started tweeting me like, "Hey, you're gonna give one of your awards to Metal Gear Solid 5?" And I was like, "Oh right, Metal Gear Solid 5 is here and it's not out yet." You know what I mean? It's just like you want to talk about how E3 works. Is that there's no trailer reveal at any of the press conferences. There's a giant demo on Jeff Keighley's YouTube stage, just like where Telltale went to go talk about the Walking Dead spinoff for Michonne, and nobody fucking heard it. You know what I mean? Like, nobody heard it because there was so much noise, so many big events, so many pre-shows, so many post-shows that, like, you had to be dialed in at that one moment to get into it. And we watched the trailer, we did the rewind for it, Les Enfants Terribles, and we had a great time talking about it, right? But that didn't resonate to me as an E3 game of the show. And now, granted, it's because I'm spoiled. I'd already played it. I put 2 days into it. But it wasn't even on my radar in terms of E3. I didn't hear a lot of people talking about it. People did eventually start talking about the demo, but it was your embargo was up before E3. You did a trailer. You're not on the stage. You have the booth, but it's like booths aren't really what E3 is to us. You know what I mean? E3 is the stage demos. It's the press conferences. It's these different things. I was surprised, that you didn't feel a presence of it. And a big part of that, I think, is the fact that Kojima wasn't there. You know what I mean? They didn't have him there. If things weren't south with them right now, you have to imagine he comes out on the Sony stage and talks about Metal Gear and shows a demo and does something cool to get everyone excited about it. But the fact that it was like sectioned off, it was to me forgotten. That's why I didn't think of it to give it an award. And after the fact, I started going back and forth in my head. I'm like, well, I've said it's my game of the year so far. So I think that's a good enough nod for it. And it's just like, I want to give it to the things that caught me off guard or I didn't see coming. Like E3's that excitement and that, oh my God, something brand new. And Metal Gear's been around a bit. You know what I mean? Like, let's get out there and do something. And a lot of people called me out. Not called me out, but a lot of people had questions, I should say, and brought up the original tweet I did from Konami LA Studios down there when I was playing Metal Gear, right? Because I had tweeted out that on this day I can talk about single player, and on this day I can talk about Metal Gear Solid Online. And it was like the Tuesday of E3, right? And so that day during the shows or the live streams, people were hitting me up like, what's going on? Why aren't you talking about it? And I was like, because they didn't show anything. Yeah. And here we are at E3, and did they show anything? I don't know. I didn't get a chance to watch all these things they're doing on the YouTube stage, but for us, it was one PowerPoint slide that said how many players are in a map. So I really have nothing to say because I have no idea what the hell Metal Gear Solid Online's all about. Like I know Phantom Pain looks great and that looks awesome, but online I still don't know what's happening.
I want to give a shout out to a game that I think I got appropriate amount of coverage and was playable, which was Mario Maker. I think that I didn't get a chance to go over and play it. That game looks fucking awesome, and I can't wait to play it. So I'm glad that that seemed to be like one of the stars of the show, just generally.
One of my games of the show.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, it was one of your games of the show. It bothered me in the Nintendo Direct how they were manhandling all those documents, but other than that, it was good.
Here's the original way we laid it out. There's
folding and throwing. I'm like, all right,
and pulling out of their pocket, like, oh, by the way, there it is. All right, we got the original document.
It's like, Jesus Christ, what are you guys thinking? But yeah, that game looks awesome. So I want to give a shout out to that. There were a few games that I was surprised I didn't see more about. I didn't do like a deep dive, but a few games that came to mind. One of the games I was surprised that I didn't hear more about was Riggs.
Oh yeah.
Riggs is made by Guerrilla Cambridge, so a first party Sony studio, it's like a 3-on-3 arena combat game for Morpheus. And I was surprised that it had like a very noticeable and big placard on the show floor, and it was upstairs. You had to like go upstairs and play it and stuff like that. And I was just surprised I didn't read more about that game. I played Alien Nation, Housemarque's new game for PS4 behind closed doors, and it's fucking awesome. So I can't wait to play that. But I didn't really see anyone talking about that. I think mostly because it wasn't on the floor and it was in like pre-alpha and it was a little rough. But
Rocket League not getting the attention it deserves.
Rocket League
didn't see nearly enough Rocket League coverage.
Gave Rocket League one of my placards for game of the show. Love that game. Can't wait to play it. Yeah, so I mean, there was a few of those out there, but actually the biggest miss for me in terms of its appearance on the floor but not in playable form and nothing to see of it was Persona 5, which is why I think that it's not coming out this year. I don't care what they say. So
and let's bring this nugget up too.
Yeah.
Because this shit driving me crazy as well. We had been saying for a while, like, don't expect it in 2015. Don't expect it in 2015 in North America. And so then some kid had tweeted me like, hey, what do you think the chances are? And I responded and did like the quote tweet, and I'm like, not a chance. Not a chance this comes to North America in 2015. And then that day, Atlas updates their website to say it is coming in 2015. And they put out a statement of it is coming in 2015. And everybody's tweeting at me saying I'm wrong. January 1st, 2016, everybody take a fucking photo of how many hours you... I want your
Kodak on one of the
little wind-up cameras. I want
yeah.
a photo of your screen showing your game time in Persona 5 because it will be 0 hours in 0 minutes. Like, I understand that there's a light in the end of the tunnel here that all of a sudden the website says 2015, Atlas says 2015. I'm sure they're aiming for 2015. I'm telling you they won't hit 2015 in North America. Take it to the bank.
Boom. I won't be quite that confident. Anything
Gets
can
me
happen.
fired up.
I just was surprised. I was surprised by the bold assertion as well, considering they've not shown anything yet.
Right.
They showed like a trailer. It looks great, but I mean, it's not gone hands on or whatever. And I still think their primary market is not the West, so they don't. I think there's John Harden, who's our friend over at Atlas, who does all their PR, did reiterate that they think it's going to come out in 2015, but I just don't see it happening. But I hope it's true. But
again, I hope TGS, they come out and they're like, look at this huge thing, release date worldwide, and I'll be like, oh man, humble pie, and I'll eat it up. But I just don't like being told I'm wrong when you don't have a confirmation. The website saying 2015 is not it being in your hands.
Yeah, and remember that a lot of times, for various reasons, and I'm not saying Atlas would do this, but for a lot of reasons, publishers say release dates and then have every intention of delaying it. So which was exactly what happened with Batman.
Yep.
Which was obvious as the day is long, where they were like, Batman's coming. What was the original date? Like
November,
and they're like, oh, never mind. We need 8 more months. It's like I'm pretty sure you knew you needed those 8 months, but all right, I believe you. So yeah, that was actually the biggest thing that was missing on the show for me because I expected it to be there. First of all, I expected it to be at Sony's conference, and second of all, I expected it to have a more substantive. If it was coming out this year, they would have had something on the show for. But they're probably wary about. First of all, it's probably not localized. Second of all, they're probably wary of spoilers and all those kinds of things. I still am confident that it comes out this year in Japan, but I just don't. Same thing with Tales, another RPG series. You identify and focus on your home market first, and then you worry about localizing later. The studio has enough to worry about. They have been making this game for a very long time, so you have to assume it's almost done.
Yeah, but
maybe not. I don't know. All I know is that Catherine came out in 2011, and they haven't released anything since then, and I'm excited to see more. But yeah, so that was the biggest thing that I was surprised about wasn't there, because they had like a placard for it and nice signage and stuff like that.
Nice
bags and all that, but nothing for the actual game. And so that told me that it's still far off. But maybe I'm wrong. We'll see.
Hashtag Colin is never wrong.
Never.
Ever.
There's a ton of Tim games that obviously for probably the right reasons didn't
Timmy
get
O'Toole's
enough
Adventures?
love. But like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, it was weird to me how little that game was talked about, in the sense of like, where was it? Again, it was the Jeff Keighley thing. The gameplay world premiere of it was on Jeff Keighley's show that no one saw. Well, not no one saw, but everyone was busy watching all these other things.
Cut to the Tube Filter article where they're like, the YouTube stream of E3 did 8 million views.
But the people that saw that didn't see whatever else was happening. There's too much happening at once.
Exactly.
So that game just got drowned out completely. Having said that, from the little I saw, I am worried about that game.
But you're Mr. Tony Hawk.
I love
Pro Skater.
I can't wait for it. It's going to be. I know it's going to be good enough.
Yeah.
I know
good
that.
enough.
It is not going to be great.
Okay.
But it will be good enough, and that's exciting to me. But man, it looks rough.
Oh no.
But it does look like Tony Hawk. It's just weird to me that they're like, oh, it's classic. It's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. And I'm like, then why does it have a bunch of the shitty features from Thug 2?
Yeah.
Guys, come on. Then Yoshi's Woolly World.
Yeah.
It's almost unfair to bring up because that game's been at E3. It feels like forever. And I've seen it so many damn times. And it's also out. in like a month.
Yeah, it's coming out in June and July in AU and UK, and then October for the US because we speak such a different language.
Yeah, I mean Yoshi, man, he's a tough guy to really connect to, you know. But that game looks awesome, and I've seen a couple of the reviews go up now, and it's not looking too great.
No, really?
I mean, it's like 7s.
Oh, fuck.
And that's my problem is Yoshi's Woolly World could have been a 9. You know, it could have been like, it looks cute, but it's actually challenging. It's actually really like good, and it's not.
So it's going like Kirby Epic Yarn.
It's another Yoshi game, and it's like I love Yoshi, so
it's the year of the Yoshi.
It is the year. It's always the year of the Yoshi, the perpetual year of the Yoshi in my life. But that game, every time I play it, I'm like, man, it's good. It's solid. It's upsetting to know that it's not as great as I wish it would be. But the last one would be Transformers Devastation.
Oh, right, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Platinum Games.
Probably biggest surprise for me of E3 besides Final Fantasy 7 HD. It blew me away because, my God, seeing a screenshot of that game, I'm like, this is made up. This looks like, this is like a dream I had. And then seeing the gameplay of it, I'm like, this is utterly ridiculous how much this is just a thing I saw in my imagination years ago, and I'm now going to be able to play it. That's awesome.
That's awesome, yeah.
Like, it's the Transformers games where you just get to play with your action figures and bang them together and make a lot of noises. Yes. Thank you. Platinum Games making it. Will that game be a 10 out of 10? No chance in hell. Am I going to fucking love it? Oh, yeah. And I thought it was weird. This is talking about things that we thought were underappreciated or whatever. I think E3 overall, the booths were really oddly set up this year. Like,
how so?
Did you get too much of a chance to walk around the show floor?
I walked around our show floor a fair bit. West Hall, South Hall. I just ran to like my appointment there.
Like, I thought that Sony's booth, Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft, they always kind of have a similar like layout year to year overall, and they're always good. It's always like well conducive to seeing all their offerings, the smaller indie titles and the like different demo kiosks. Nintendo's very focused. Here's the 5 games you're gonna play. There's 10 million stations for each one. Sure. That's what you're doing. Xbox is a little bit in between where it's like there's the marquee titles, but then there's also the littler ones. But then when you went over to the other hall and it's all the different like the third party things, it was a fucking shit show.
It usually is over there though.
But it was like more so than normal. Like really? Activision's booth, it was just the Destiny booth. Like it was just Destiny. Everything else was behind closed doors. And I was like, what? Like, because usually they have a whole like. Usually the third-party booths are the cheating way to not have to wait in line to play the games you want to play at the first-party booths. Yeah. You can just go over there and just kind of, like, there's no line for them, you know?
Sure.
This year is just like, oh, they're just not here. And, of course, EA has its crazy-ass, like...
They take up a giant
thing where it's like a freaking rave going on half the time. You don't know what's going on. So I thought all that was pretty interesting. But a big thing that I don't think is being talked about enough, granted, not much to talk about, Kingdom Hearts 3. Like, we got a gameplay trailer that showed a fair amount of gameplay. A lot of new stuff. We got the new Tangled World. We saw a new Hercules place. And I'm just like, this looks fucking awesome. I hate that trailer ended and it said, what do you remember what it said? It said, like, still in development or something. I'm just like, fuck you guys. Like, come on.
I mean, that game's so far off, man.
But it looks so good. And I'm happy they showed that. Like,
it does look very good.
Because they could have just shown another CG trailer or another, just quick tease. It was here's Kingdom Hearts 3 again. It's happening. Goofy does some shit. But it's like they actually showed...
we got the date wrong.
But they showed gameplay that I was like, oh, this is why I'm so excited about this game. And it's been interesting that people haven't been talking that much about it. And I think it's because Square's conference happened at a weird time. And it happened... the day after they announced Final Fantasy VII, Square's conference was weird to me.
Yeah, it was totally unnecessary, actually. Yeah. I'm surprised that they actually let loose on the Final Fantasy VII thing at Sony's, but I'm sure there's a deal, maybe a publishing deal or some money being exchanged. But yeah, that was weird. Square didn't need to have a conference. I mean, the reason Square wants to be a legitimate Western publisher, Western style publisher, right? Like we're publishing Tomb Raider, like which a lot of people forget. We have Hitman and all that, and I'm like, I respect that. Yeah, but slow your roll a little bit. And finish some of the games that you have in the pipeline so I don't ever have to fucking look at them at E3 again. That would be like where I would start, Final Fantasy 15, still not convinced it'll be out by E3 next year. Kingdom Hearts, no chance in hell. So get used to seeing Kingdom Hearts for the next 2 or 3 years at E3 and get used to seeing Final Fantasy 7 remake in perpetuity.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I would be shocked if we saw that game again, even at next E3. And they already said that they're showing more will be revealed in the winter or something. Oh, it was a super
They might show
weird,
something at TGS or something.
They made it sound like at TGS they're going to show something.
That's not in the winter, but yeah.
But they said there was some really weird phrase they said.
New
That I
York
was like,
Comic-Con.
what the fuck? Yeah, they
So
implied they were
gonna
going
be
to get more info soon, but I would not be surprised if we didn't even hear another update on that game for maybe even past next E3.
Yeah, they need to go dark for a little while, and that's the thing that's frustrating to me about Square's Japanese stuff is that, you know, when I saw that they were patching Final Fantasy 15's demo, I'm like, why are you patching it? Make the game.
That's where they make they fix things there that they can apply to the game, Colin. So they can show that they're listening to your feedback.
They are. Well, I loved that when they were like, remember we did it on Colin and Greg, I think, where it was like, here's all the feedback, and one of them, of course, was the awful voice acting. But
it's unbearable.
That voice, the blonde guy's voice, I'll never get over how bad that was. If I never have to hear, I suspect he will not be in the final game. But I appreciate that they did that, and they're like, here's what you guys said, and here's the advice we're taking in as we continue to build the game. That's great. Good team working on it. Very talented team working on this game, as they have been for a very long time. But I didn't expect them to update the demo, pretend the demo doesn't exist, and just walk away from it and go back and work on the game using the advice you got from the demo. You know, and I'm sure they're doing that as well. But to me, it's just like, Jesus, God almighty, just stop already. Stop teasing it.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're updating the demo because they're like, the game's still 18 months off or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like holiday. I'm shooting holiday 2016 at this point is what they probably hope. You know. So they're just Square's just weird. They're just a weird company.
I'm also shocked that they didn't release the Kingdom Hearts collection on PS4.
Didn't they announce it on PS4?
No.
They never announced that?
No.
Not at the E3. I'm saying they announced.
No. Kingdom Hearts, they did the 1.5 HD remix and 2.5
2.5. I know on
remix
PS3.
On PS3. Still nothing on PS4, and it just makes too much
never
sense
said anything. I could've
to be like,
sworn I
here's
read
all
that.
of it in PS4.
Maybe I'm wrong.
PlayStation Now, though. PlayStation Now, though.
With the power of the cloud. Every game's available on Vita. If I hear that one more time, I'm gonna kill myself. Yeah, they're just weird. They have to go dark for a little while. They have exciting games in the pipeline, especially from their Japanese studios. And it's cool that they're like starting to work with other studios too, like CyberConnect. I didn't even know Square had a relationship with them. So that's cool that their internal teams who probably have no interest. And here's the thing about Final Fantasy VII that I never really thought too deeply about is over time they certainly knew that everyone wanted a remake of this. And it reminded me of when when McCain ran for president and he ended up with Palin as the running mate, and you know that he asked like 10 other people, but they all said no, and so you have to imagine. I mean, I'm no disrespect to CyberConnect because they're totally a fine studio, but you have to assume that's not where they started.
Yeah,
and everyone they went to was like, you know, it's probably a lot of money. It's probably great work to have, and you're gonna have 3 or 4 year relationship with Square, and they're gonna pay your bills, and that's great. But the pressure to remake that game is probably absurd.
Yeah,
and
it doesn't even make sense.
And so like CyberConnect getting it is fine, but I'm like, I don't know. When I heard that was the rumored studio, I'm not even sure if they've ever confirmed that or not. When I heard that they weren't doing it internally, I was like, well,
That's trouble.
it's not necessarily trouble. I was just hoping for like level 5 or something like that. But if we're not going to go in that direction, then best of luck to you, because people are going to be scrutinizing the shit out of that game, you know, and that's why I think so. So it reminded me of Palin, where I'm like, she was like the 10th choice clearly, and they didn't even vet her, and they got to that point, and they're like, whatever, we'll just take whatever we can get. I just wish I was there for that 18-month conversation where they're like, please make this game so we can just tell everyone to shut the fuck up, you know, and they finally found their match, but I don't think they started with CyberConnect, you know, I think they started higher on the food chain and went from there. But maybe not. And I would have loved to see, frankly, I would have been excited to see a Western studio attached to that game. I thought that would have been really bold. But and when they showed the trailer, I'm like, the way the verbiage and stuff like that on the words was very Japanese scenario, for instance, which is a way to say you wrote the story in Japanese gaming. But I was hoping that it was going to be like a Western studio that did it, just to do a little bit of a different spin. But you can tell that was a Japanese game.
Capcom Vancouver.
No, hopefully they're working on Mega Man. That would be nice.
Damn, Portillo with the scurry.
He got that run on.
He's doing something.